All right, ready to dive into something really important. We're talking FDA 21 CFR Part 210.
Okay, so maybe not the most exciting title.
I know regulations aren't exactly beach reading, but stick with us.
This is about your medications, how they're made, how we know they're safe.
We're talking the foundation of good manufacturing practices,
Yeah.
right? For pharmaceuticals.
Exactly.
So 21 CFR Part 210, this is like the ground rules.
Yeah, the non-negotiables for any drug manufacturer.
In this deep dive, what's the mission here?
To understand why those rules exist, it's not just about, making pills look a certain way.
It's bigger than that.
Much bigger. 21 CFR Part 210, it sets the stage for what we call cGMP.
The cGMP.
Current good manufacturing practices. It's a whole framework.
Like a blueprint.
Yeah, for building quality into every single step of how drugs are made.
Okay, so like from the building itself to the people working there, it's all connected.
Absolutely. Training, cleaning equipment, handling materials, it's all under the cGMP umbrella.
See, this is why I want to do this deep dive. I take medication, so this matters to me.
And to everyone who relies on these medications, it's about knowing that there's a system in place.
A safety net woven into the whole process.
Exactly. When companies follow 21 CFR Part 210, they're committing to minimizing those risks.
The risks of errors, contamination, inconsistencies. So greater confidence in the medications themselves.
That's the goal.
Okay, so let's get into some specifics of this 21 CFR Part 210. What stands out to you?
Well, one of the most fundamental things is standardized procedures.
Standardized, you mean like everyone doing things the exact same way?
Exactly. Every single step in making a drug needs to be documented, followed precisely.
Why is that so important?
Think of it like a recipe, but with much higher stakes.
Yeah, you mess up a cake, no big deal. Mess up a medication, that's serious.
Right. So these standardized procedures, they eliminate guesswork, they reduce human error.
So clear written instructions for everything.
Everything, from cleaning that equipment to weighing out the ingredients.
Okay, so that's standardized procedures. What else?
Environmental control is huge, GE.
Right.
The regulations are really specific about this. It's got to be a clean and controlled environment.
You mean like more than just a clean factory?
Oh, much more. We're talking controlling temperature, the humidity, air quality, ventilation, all of it.
Wow. See, I wouldn't have thought of that, like temperature affecting my meds.
It's easy to overlook. But even small changes in temperature or humidity during manufacturing or storage,
It can make a difference.
it can degrade some ingredients,
Yeah.
affect how a drug is absorbed by the body. 21 CFR Part 210, it sets strict standards to prevent that.
So it's like creating the perfect environment for each drug.
Exactly. Controlling those invisible factors that could compromise the medication.
This is fascinating. And this applies to storage too, like where the drugs are kept.
Absolutely. And transportation, the whole chain.
Okay, so we've got standardized procedures, environmental control, and what was the other big one?
Record keeping.
Record keeping.
It's essential, not just paperwork, but documentation of every single batch of medication.
So if something goes wrong, you can trace it back.
Exactly. Every ingredient, every step, every piece of equipment used, it's all recorded.
For accountability and for improvement if something needs to change.
Right.
Wow. You don't think about all this when you pick up a prescription.
Most people don't. But this whole world exists behind the scenes, making sure that medication is safe and effective.
And 21 CFR Part 210 is a big part of that.
It's the bedrock, really, the framework that gives us confidence in these pharmaceuticals.
Okay, I'm definitely seeing why this matters. Not just for people making the drugs, but for all of us taking them.
Absolutely. And honestly, we've just scratched the surface here.
There's more?
Oh, yeah. 21 CFR Part 210, it goes deep. And it's more interesting than you might think.
Okay, so much to unpack here. Where do we go next with 21 CFR Part 210?
Let's talk about the people, the ones actually making these medications.
Like the personnel.
21 CFR Part 210 gets pretty specific about their training and hygiene.
So more than just like hairnets and washing hands.
Oh, yeah. Training is huge, GE. They need to understand not just their task, but how it fits into cGMP overall.
So technicians, supervisors, everyone plays a part.
Everyone. It's about building a whole culture of quality. And personal hygiene, that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, we can all be sources of contamination. Accidentally, of course.
Skin cells, hair, jewelry. Imagine a rogue earring falling into a batch of pills.
Okay, I'm trying not to imagine that.
But that's why 21 CFR Part 210 is so strict about it. The right clothing, protective gear, all that, minimizing the risk.
Okay, so we've got standardized procedures, the environment, record-keeping personnel. Anything else?
Equipment. That's a big word.
The machines, the tools, all that.
Right. 21 CFR Part 210 has rules about the design, the maintenance, and especially cleaning.
So, like, not just any old mixing bowl will do.
Not quite. It's got to be made from materials that are easy to clean, that won't react with the ingredients. And the cleaning itself, that's a whole process.
I'm sensing a theme here. It's all about preventing contamination at every step.
You got it. Strict procedures for cleaning and sanitizing everything between batches. Especially important for really potent drugs, where even tiny amounts of residue could matter.
And I bet this cleaning, it's all documented too.
Every single step, what agents they used, how long, verification checks, all recorded.
Wow. So 21 CFR Part 210, it really is weaving all these threads together.
It's creating that safety net we talked about for patients.
Okay, let's keep going. What else falls under this umbrella?
Materials, the
Yeah.
stuff that actually goes into the drugs.
Makes sense. Can't make a good cake with bad flour, right?
Perfect analogy. 21 CFR Part 210, it's got strict rules about where they get those materials, how they store them, how they handle them.
So everything from the main ingredient, the active one, to
To everything else, the inactive ingredients, we call those excipients.
excipients. Okay. Never heard that word before. What are they?
The stuff that helps the drug work, but isn't the active ingredient itself. Binders, fillers, things that improve absorption, or maybe mask a bad taste.
Never knew there was so much going on in a little pill.
There's a lot happening. And yeah, excipients, they have their own regulations too.
Gotta make sure they're pure, safe, all that.
Exactly. Identity, purity, quality, all of it. Plus, procedures to prevent contamination during storage.
That's like a chain of custody for ingredients, making sure they're handled as carefully as the final drug.
Right. And that chain, it extends to everything. Packaging materials, too. You don't want something from the bottle looching into the pills.
Hadn't thought of that. Okay, so we've talked about the place, the people, the equipment, the materials. What's left?
The process itself and how we prove it works.
Prove it works.
That's called process validation. And it's where things get really interesting. It's about showing scientifically that your manufacturing process consistently makes high-quality medication.
So not just following the steps, but proving the steps themselves are good.
Precisely. We do experiments, studies, to demonstrate that the process, under certain conditions, makes a product that meets all the standards.
That sounds complicated. Can you give an example?
Let's say you're making tablets. You might test how different amounts of pressure affect how hard the tablet is, how fast it dissolves, all that.
You're finding the sweet spot and then making sure you hit it every time.
Exactly. And all of this is documented. So there's scientific proof that the process is under control, not just hoping for the best.
This is making a lot more sense now. It's about building quality into every single aspect.
That's what cGMP is all about. And 21 CFR Part 210, it's the guideline that makes it happen.
Okay, part 3 of our deep dive into 21 CFR Part 210. We've covered so much ground already. What's left to explore?
Well, we've talked about building quality into every step of the way, right? But how do we actually check that quality? That's where quality control testing comes in.
Okay, so it's like the final inspection.
Yeah, you could say that. It's the last checkpoint to make sure that finished product, that medication, actually meets all the requirements we've been talking about.
So, like, does it actually have the right amount of the active ingredient? That kind of thing.
Exactly. Quality control testing, it's a whole battery of tests. They're looking at the identity, the purity, the strength of the medication, even its physical characteristics. Think about it. You need to make sure those pills dissolve properly in your body so the medicine can work.
Makes sense. So these tests, they're like the seal of approval.
Yeah.
Saying, yep, what's on the label is what's in the bottle.
And 21 CFR Part 210, it lays out exactly what those tests should be, what methods to use, even who's qualified to do them.
And I'm guessing all of this is documented too.
You bet. Every single test, meticulously recorded. It's part of that whole chain of evidence we've been talking about.
Okay, so let's say a manufacturer doesn't follow these regulations. What happens? Are there consequences?
Oh, there are. Big ones. The FDA, they're the ones who enforce all this. And they can issue warning letters. They can force a company to recall their product.
Serious stuff.
It can even get to the point of shutting down a whole manufacturing facility if the violations are bad enough.
So these regulations, they're not messing around.
They can't afford to. We're talking about patient safety. That's the whole point of this. Preventing dangerous medications from getting out there. Making sure people can trust what they're taking.
Wow. It really puts things in perspective.
Yeah.
You know, when you take a pill, you expect it to work.
Right. But there's this whole system working behind the scenes to make that happen. All these people dedicated to making sure it's safe.
So this deep dive, it's been really eye-opening. We've gone from like what even IS-21 CFR Part 210 to the nitty-gritty of these good manufacturing practices, and now the consequences if those rules aren't followed.
And it all ties back to that one idea, making sure the medications people rely on, they're safe, they're effective, every single time.
It's kind of amazing how all these pieces fit together. The facility, the people, the equipment, the tests. It's a whole system.
And without that system, without those regulations, it'd be a lot harder to have that confidence. Confidence in the medications we take and the companies that make them.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. This has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of pharmaceutical regulations.
It's a world most people don't see, but it's vitally important.
So the next time you pick up your prescription, maybe you'll think about all the work that went into making it safe and all the people who made that happen.
And maybe you'll have a little more appreciation for those regulations, like 21 CFR Part 210. They might seem dry on paper, but they're there for a reason, to protect all of us.
Well said. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Take care.